Well, welcome to the 8th episode of At Home at Highclere for Viking.TV, and thank you so much for joining us again, or for the first time. So today, it's about this quintessentially British experience, afternoon tea, which has enjoyed such a revival, and actually wherever we go, it's always about afternoon tea. But I thought I would actually start with a few lines from a wonderful American author, which is in At Home at Highclere, little plug for the book. And it's Henry James, who came to stay at Highclere, a wonderful, extraordinary American author. And he says in The Portrait of a Lady, "Under certain circumstances, there are few hours in life more agreeable than the hour dedicated to the ceremony known as afternoon tea. The situation is in itself delightful, disposed upon the lawns of an old English country house in the perfect middle of a splendid summer afternoon." So I hope that's a great way to start our afternoon tea here at Highclere today. Henry James visited Highclere a few times. He was a much distinguished guest and lived much of his time in London. I think there's somebody downstairs. This is wooden floors here, so it's all quite very audible. But so the setting for afternoon tea is as important as the ceremony itself. And sometimes we've had tea outside and sometimes inside. And it's a wonderful moment to take some time out in a busy afternoon. So we've had tea on the lawns under a spreading cedar tree with friends. We've had crazy teas with afternoon picnics in early spring, sometimes March. And those who work with us, who are perhaps not English, think we're completely mad having an afternoon walk and picnic when it's somewhere above freezing, but not quite the summer day that Henry James talked about. I think it's a wonderful adventure and a time of the afternoon to enjoy the tea, the crumpets, the scones, the sandwiches, and all the individual, beautiful, sweet somethings like what's on the stand here to enjoy for afternoon tea. So what makes up afternoon tea? Well, there's the sandwiches, there's the little cakes, banana cakes, carrot cakes, tiny Victoria sponges, but of course, at the centre of it, there's the afternoon tea, it's the scone. There's a very important point about whether you say scone or scone, which is also part of the fun of it. Today, the scones have been made by a wonderful lady who works for a local pub, which I really hope you might try for fish and chips or whatever else you like. I love fish and chips. Miranda Roadnight, who works at the Flower Pot pub, which is closed at the moment, but I hope will open again soon. There's on the screen, I hope you can start to see how you make a scone. And the recipe is actually in this book at home. It's very straightforward. It doesn't take long to cook at all. I probably can't find it now. But this part of the book is pink. I'm going to just turn to it. It's a beautiful book, and it was my first coffee table book. And there are some wonderful recipes here for scones. And you've got probably everything you need in your pantry, from the flour to the salt, to the baking powder, the butter, the sugar, a medium egg, and a bit of whole milk. And it's quite often best if you make the base for the scone, then leave it in the fridge to set. So it's, to my mind, the necessary ingredient for the afternoon tea. And then you've got the cream and the jam. So it's a huge debate as to whether you have the scone and then the cream and then the jam, which if you spent much time in Cornwall, you do, or if you spend much time in Devon, which is not quite Cornwall, just to one side of it, you have the scone and then the jam and then the cream. So it is a little bit muddling about which way around you have it, but if you try it both ways, you can just spend the whole time debating whether you have the cream or the jam first, or the jam or the cream first. And alongside the different little cakes that we've got here, the sandwiches, there's obviously the tea and the teapot. And Sally Popperwell has these afternoon tea sets made for us in the gift shop, which are really charming and really cute, and I have to say hugely popular. At the front of my book at home, has got, guess what, Finza and my lovely dog Alfie and Bella. And then alongside this, you've also got an afternoon tea book from Dogtown Abbey, which tells you how to make the sandwiches, the cakes, and there's some gingerbread recipes. And these books are so cute. I hope they will amuse you, however old you are. But today I've actually got a really special guest coming to have tea with me, and it's my husband. So I hope Geordie's coming up the stairs. He went to go and get Alfie because he's on the front of the book, and we thought you'd meet my husband and Alfie for afternoon tea. Alfie's on a lead because otherwise he'll eat the afternoon tea before my husband and I have a chat. So if I hold him a second, do you want to take a seat? Voila. Hello, my darling boy. How are you?
Well, this all looks absolutely delicious and perfect.
Luckily, we don't eat tea like this every day, or we definitely put on weight. But it's a huge treat, and of course, it's one of the treats that everybody at Highclere loves to enjoy when they come here. And we have seated afternoon teas in a variety of different places. We've got a new room called the Buttery, or there's the Old Castle tea rooms, or the Coach House tea rooms, where you're surrounded by the behind-the-scenes shots of Downton Abbey. So I hope in any case in
And a
this
glorious
experience.
bird's eye view of the castle tower.
Oh, you do? I forgot. Yeah. So this is actually in a restored building. It was a complete jumble of coal cellars, I guess, where the coaches used to live. The floorboards were broken and the stairs didn't work. And it's been really a great joy to turn it back into something which will give people such pleasure. We've left it in its old state. So there's a strange bit here above what was possibly an old brewery. So you can sit quite high in an eyrie, which actually in these days of potential social distancing is probably quite
Probably a good
risky,
idea,
isn't
but
it?
great old beams in here as well. Yeah,
So shall I pour you some tea?
that would be absolutely brilliant.
So we always pour the tea and then the milk, because then not everybody takes milk.
I think Alfie's already got his eye on something.
Oh, okay, and the cake. And a lot of people have lemon in it. And then you can judge how much milk everybody puts in it. So can I pour some
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, darling. That's perfect.
Really pretty. So it's a moment to sit down with the prettiest of cups. Delicious cup of tea. This is just general afternoon tea. I think it's probably my afternoon tea. But do you also like Earl Grey or Nats on Souchon? Or...
Oh, when I used to come with my grandfather and have tea when I was a small boy in the castle, there was Lapsang Souchon, Earl Grey, this China type teas, and a typical traditional silver teapot that Robert the Butler would have in there.
Probably a bit lacking. I haven't polished the silver.
No, this is brilliant. But I remember because Ivy, he's a wonderful cook, produced all these scrumptious things, especially for a kid. You know, glorious sponge, chocolate cakes, and of course they had two Labradors in the kitchen, Prune and Custard, who had too much prunes and custard and were rather large.
Well, we've got a Victoria sponge cake here, which is very much a staple of our afternoon tea at Highclere. It was a favourite of Queen Victoria, who apparently wasn't allowed many sweet things as a child. So when she was able to, we put a Victoria sponge. She created and made sure she was able to have the Victoria sponge, which is a very straightforward cake to make with, again, cream and jam. Very good for you, and a little icing sugar on top. And there are some mini ones here which look so cute. And so if you have a couple of small ones, it's nothing like one big slice, I guess, isn't it?
I'm sure we can all kid ourselves of that. One of my favourite things though for tea, really, after tea, is cucumber sandwich.
They are very good, aren't they? They're here with a little bit of cream cheese, and I love smoked salmon as well, with the crust off. And actually, why did you try one, darling?
I think a cucumber sandwich, freshly made with the crust off, sums up everything that is glorious about the English spring, summer afternoon.
tea.
It really does. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to have to have one as well. So, and cucumbers in a very traditional filling for afternoon tea, because it was actually a mark of having a fantastic greenhouse and garden, that you could grow cucumbers at different times of the year in order to enjoy it. So as usual, there's a bit of a story behind it. And I and my sisters also were brought up with a wonderful afternoon tea tradition. And Queenie, we had a wonderful cook called Queenie, she was a superb baker, and down in Cornwall, round about 4 o'clock, 4:30, Queenie would appear with a trolley laden with scones and cakes. And we'd already licked out the bowls of the cake mixture, which actually was one of my favourite pastimes.
I was allowed sometimes down with Ivy to do the same thing with the bowls in the castle kitchen, which if you're a small boy, seems enormous.
Yes, and the bowls are probably quite big too. Delicious. It's all the small memories of tea and cooking, isn't it? Please do try it. Where's Alfie gone? Oh, he's sitting down. She's very good. Come on, good boy. Very good boy, aren't you? So I know we've got quite a few questions coming up, and I really hope that as times change, and it looks like they may be changing a little quite soon in England, we'll be able to have some afternoon teas and welcome visitors back here again from the summer onwards. There are scones, cakes, a little bit of chocolate and some sandwiches. In the Finza book, we've also got some gingerbread recipes. So in this particular book, there's the recipes for the scones, which are also in here, and the gingerbread recipes, which makes it really easy. And I hope you might try some of them. There's the stories, the traditions, and the recipes in the books. We haven't posted them all online, but some of them are going up on the Instagram, and I'm sure Viking will, because they're kind of really on it, so that'd be brilliant as well. Alfie, darling, come back here. Alfie loves visitors. The Labradors adore visitors because not every visitor eats all the tea.
They associate visitors with glorious teas.
They do. They do.
They're very clever at finding them.
They are indeed. So I know that we've got an awful lot of questions coming our way, which is perhaps the easiest way to continue enjoying afternoon tea with you. So I think, Kat, you've got some questions, haven't you?
Yes, thank you so much, Lady and Lord Carnarvon. We have a question from Tag in Vancouver. Where can you purchase the book?
Oh, Tag, how very tactful, thank you. At Home at Highclere is on Amazon and in any good bookshop. I think at the moment it's on Amazon. I suspect the bookshops with you are sadly closed as much as they are here. And in America, North America, it's translated into your cups rather than our grams and ounces over here. So I hope that makes it easier. Thank you, Tag.
We now have a question from Barry, who is asking, how old is the coach house?
A little bit of this glorious courtyard behind the castle is rather older than the Victorian building, isn't it? So it's more
I think the courtyard dates back to medieval times. You've actually got records in the 13th or 14th century of a courtyard behind the castle. It was renovated in Georgian times and made more symmetrical. So that's in the 18th century rather, the 1700s. And then since then, we've again been reusing and renovating, using much of the same oak that was here before. It's been the most extraordinary and fascinating
I think
process.
they thought some of those large beams when we were doing our last restoration project around the corner, they were from 1600s, weren't they?
We think they were taken out of the church that used to be here, which was rebuilt in 1679 and then reused in here later on, because you can see some of the, and probably there's a technical word, but the holes into which some of the window frames used to sit. Thank you.
We now have a question from Kathleen, just trying to avoid Alfie knocking over the tripod there. Kathleen, who is in Fort Mill, please tell us about the flowers on your table.
Kathleen, the flowers are from the garden, which is so nice. There's some agastaki here, and there's a peony.
Wonderful peonies, just some of my favourites for this time of year. Haven't they got exquisite colour?
A little geranium here and some pale roses. So it's lovely, and it's such a privilege to pick what's around and bring it inside. So thank you.
We now have a question from Richard. What did your dogs think of Isis, Lord Grantham's dog in Downton Abbey?
Our dogs were not bothered by Isis at all, got on perfectly well with her. All the dogs were far more interested in the food at Downton Abbey, in the catering trucks, which used to be parked outside and operating from early in the morning, And then from the tea table, which was outside the front door for afternoon tea, not quite as smart as this with the kind of plastic cups and not sandwiches of the same quality, but sandwiches and cakes. So the Labradors very much liked Downton, but for different reasons. And whenever I went on a walk, I'd set off with quite a few dogs and come back with very few dogs. They'd all be under a trestle table somewhere.
Thank you. We now have a question from David in Seattle. He is asking, are there any gluten-free options for afternoon tea? Do you have any of those recipes?
David in Seattle, we thank you for the question. We do have some gluten-free options, and in all of the books there are things. There's a delicious orange polenta book, which is in Christmas at Highclere, and we have some gluten-free scones, and we produce a gluten-free offering for afternoon tea as well. A little bit different, but I hope really delicious.
We now have a question from David, who is in Newbury. He is asking, do you put fruit in your scones, or do you prefer them plain?
What do you prefer, Julie?
Well, I actually prefer them plain, rather than necessarily with raisins. I know some people really like raisins, but I'm perhaps very traditional, just like them with Cornish clotted cream and some jam. But I know people do love raisins and things too, so that's up to them, really.
Yes, I don't know. We were brought up on scones without raisins, but Paul, our chef, tends to put raisins in them. And I can't decide. I like them all equally.
We now have a question from Donna, who is in Morris Plains. She's asking, what type of tea are you drinking?
Donna, we're just drinking, actually, it's our own tea, Lady Carnarvon's afternoon tea, which sadly we can't export to America because we can't send foodstuffs to the US. But I also love Lapsang Souchong or Earl Grey tea. I love trying different teas, and Earl Grey tea on a summer afternoon is pretty delicious. Which do you prefer, Julie?
I think if I want to be sort of refreshed, because I've been trotting around a bit, I think it's this traditional Indian, what you might call breakfast tea. If I otherwise want to be a bit more refined, I think I would love Earl Grey. So it just depends.
He's not refined today.
I
He's
know,
just
well.
on traditional tea. But yes.
We now have a question from Patty, who is in Pennsylvania. What is the best time of day to have afternoon tea, and do you put the milk in the cup first?
Patty, I don't know. I tend to find I can't go much beyond 4:30 without afternoon tea, which isn't necessarily going to have all the cakes and scones every single time, but certainly there's not a day when I'm not going to sit down and have a cup of afternoon tea. And in terms of the tea and the milk, just as we did now, I always put the tea in the cup first. And it was then, not everybody wants to have milk. Quite a few people have lemon. And I think it makes the tea taste much better. I can't really tell you why. And then also, different people want different amounts of milk. So I think don't commit to it. So I think it's practical.
I like my milk coming in later.
You did too, yes. If I put milk in a mug or a cup first for my husband, he's not very happy. How about that?
We now have a question from Mary Ann, who is in Springboro. She's asking, who is in the pictures in the walls behind you? I think they're the ones directly behind you there.
Ah, well, do you know that particular frame? That's some of the cast of Downton Abbey. And it was taken in 2014 because we had an amazing day here to commemorate and raise money for the beginning of the First World War. So on that date, and actually sponsored by Viking with their help, we raised money for those who serve and those who save. And some of the Downton team came along to help us raise money, which was fabulous.
It was a great day, wasn't it? It was a massive success, and it raised money across the
globe.
The globe, and for different, for the big armed forces charities and some small, less well-known ones as well.
We do, and we support a charity in America called TAPS, which supports the bereaved families of the American military. So that's one of the ones we choose to support there. There's 90,000 American families who've tended to lose usually the father, and it helps them get by and find their new life together and honour the men who've died. And then we support Maisons Sans Frontières. We tend to support them, Doctors Without Borders. So the charity events we do, we try to stretch our hand across the ocean, west and east. and we're going to hopefully try to remember VE Day at a history festival in October and be able to stream that online and share it with you, and again raise a bit of money for those who serve and those who save. So I hope Highclere carries on the tradition of your great-grandmother to see what it can contribute to other people's lives.
Absolutely. No, well, it was an honour to be able to raise cash for all those good causes, and it was great fun with all people here enjoying themselves. Great memories.
A fun day, a really fun day.
We now have quite a few questions talking about the china. So we have Heather, who's asked, what china are you using? And Magda from New York, who is asking, can it be ordered online?
This is china from our gift shop, which has been specially made for us. In lockdown, actually, it's been selling really well. It's really cute, and it either matches or you can mix and match. And please do have a look at our online gift shop. And please order it. It's absolutely charming. And some of our guests who have then ordered it and bought it have then sent us photographs because they so enjoyed it. And it's been good fun. It's charming. And we've even got the jugs as well.
The jugs isn't the jug wonderful for having spring flowers in there?
That's fun.
It's actually great.
So it is. So please do. It's absolutely charming. It's made in Britain for Highclere Castle. It's really cute.
We now have Beth, who is from Ohio. She's asking, do you miss having Downton Abbey filming in your home?
Actually, I'm really missing it at the moment because it was like a way of life for 6 years of the TV series, and then a gap, and then the film. And I think at this particular time, I'm often looking back to things which gave us a sense of normality and reassurance. And it has been, for many, many people and many businesses, a really difficult last few months. And I think I keep looking back, thinking I wish it would come back again.
They were a great family around us, weren't they? It became like a large family that we got to know well, and they were here from pretty well dawn to dusk. They were great, really. And
I so enjoyed it on a Sunday evening too. It made the start of my week, and I've now forgotten what is the start of a week, but it kind of defined it. It was, what is a weekend? Well, it ended with Maggie Smith on a Sunday. So yeah.
We now have a question from Lynn in New Mexico. She's asking, will Highclere be open for private tours in September or the autumn?
Lynn, it will. We're just trying to put our diaries together. There's just really very few people working here. It's probably more Labradors than people. And they are very good at sitting underneath the computer as we finish our sandwiches. So the answer is we've got some beautiful tours this autumn. We've called Real Lives and Film Sets. They're small tours for small numbers of people, so you can really feel you're behind the scenes. I think it's a good way to visit Highclere. That is Alfie's tail.
Alfie's noise is off, wagging his tail so hard he's thumping the floor.
He's eyeing the leftover sandwiches already. I'm not sure how long they're going to last. So we do, and we have some other days at weekends, which is sort of castle tours and garden trails. So we hope for different visitors wanting different experiences. I hope we can offer them, but they should be online in the next week or two. Thank you.
We now have an afternoon tea related question from Barbara in Lady Lake. She's asking, do you heat the teapot with water before you add additional water for the tea?
I think that's quite an important thing to do, because if the teapot's got very cold, it will cool down the boiling water quite fast, and you won't get quite the same glorious absorption of the tea into your water. So I do pour in some hot water first.
I think you're always supposed to pour in the hot water first, and then let the pot warm up, and certainly that's how my parents would always have done it, or Queenie. So it depends if you're in a rush, doesn't it? But it's the better way to do it for an afternoon tea ceremony. Thank you, Barbara.
And relating to this, Audrey from Las Vegas is asking, is high tea a daily experience or more of a special occasion?
The cup of tea, Audrey, is definitely a daily occurrence. I can't not, sorry, it's Alfie the other side of the table. I can't not have a cup of afternoon tea.
But we wouldn't have the glorious...
We wouldn't have all the food every day.
I think that would be a bit much.
But I hope it's a real
It's a great
experience.
special treat, though, if just from time to time, isn't it? It really is.
It is, and when people come here, it's lovely. We offer a glass of champagne as well, so it's even more special. So I hope... What more do you want?
No, but absolutely, yeah.
And relating to this, Anne is asking, where is your favourite place to have afternoon tea if you could pick anywhere?
I would probably be a little bit annoying to everyone on a glorious summer's day. I want it underneath one of the cedar trees.
I'm with you. We'd both be annoying. I think we're both underneath a cedar tree. There might have been some photographs posted earlier on, and that is my idea of complete heaven. And it'd be quite good to pull out some croquet and play some croquet, which would lead to an argument, and then to another cup of tea. So I think that, to my mind, is the most beautiful place to have tea. The views are extraordinary. And we've actually now also have afternoon tea boxes, so you can take them away and sit on the lawns wherever you choose. And after all that we've all been through, I think it's a great way to de-stress, and some fantastic photographs to take of yourself having tea on the lawns outside the castle. Pretty cool.
Hopefully we have some similar weather to that we're having now. We have now a question from Catherine, who is in Baltimore. She's asking, how do you make your cucumber sandwiches?
Well, cucumber sandwiches are best made if you actually put a little bit of salt when you've peeled the cucumber and then sliced it thinly. They're better left in a little bit of salt so some of the juice runs out, and then rinsed. You can put them in a little bit of vinegar as well before you then rinse them and then use them in the sandwich, so they become less watery and the taste becomes stronger. But that's how I like it.
But you need very fresh bread, don't you, as well?
Very fresh bread, and I like it with cream cheese. I think it's delicious.
We now have a question from Stacey in Rye. She's asking for you to tell us about the lovely cake on the table there.
This is Victoria's sponge. It's very much what we serve from the tea rooms throughout the summer. I don't know how many Victoria sponges we make. We've actually sliced it already because everybody who was here wanted to take a slice home with them at the end of today. And it's just a very straightforward sponge mixture with cream and jam. Again, we must try and post our recipes online for you, but thank you.
We now have a question from Alice, who is asking, I'm looking at the window and the weather looks lovely. Is that normal for this time of year?
You're the farmer. Let's talk about the British weather.
You can have a wonderful May with lovely spring days, warm weather, but you can also have rather cold and wet, rainy weather. But this spring, generally, all the way from Easter onwards and up to now, has been rather sunny and warm with quite high temperatures, really. As a farmer, I'm worried we'll suddenly go into enormous reverse, and come harvest, it'll be driving rain every day for a month in July, August. We actually do want a drop of rain now for the crops are getting a little bit dry.
Excellent. And the thing is, when you don't worry about the weather, it's always lovely. When you start feeling anxious about it and you want it to be beautiful, then it becomes very British, and you have a little bit of rain and some clouds. But, do you know, I love Highclere and I love walking the grounds whatever time of year it is. Even when it's raining, it's still rather remarkable. It's just having the right clothes.
We now have a question from Magda in New York. She's asking where the nearest town is.
Well,
Magda, it's
Newbury, just about 5-10 minutes away by car. It's about 5 miles, I suppose, to the north.
It is, and there's a train station in there. So it was a wonderful way of travelling from London Paddington to Newbury. And lots of taxi drivers would always wait by Newbury railway station, and as they drove all the visitors into the park, they'd always have the Downton music lined up, so as you go through the gates the music comes on, and I hope you have a really good arrival sense. Well,
the Great Western Railway was one of our earliest long distance railways, the wonderful engineer Brunel who built it.
There used to be a Highclere railway station, and it's such a shame there isn't one. It would be even shorter drive, but we're very lucky because Newbury's not far, and it's such a quick train journey to London. It's 40 minutes, and it's actually our preferred method of travel. So
this is perhaps the last question, and I guess it's not really a question. We've got Laurie from Michigan and loads of other people saying, Laurie in particular says she's recently watched the Downton Abbey film and the Downton Abbey series in the last couple of weeks, and has been thrilled to recognise some of the rooms you've shown us on Viking.TV. I so enjoy your presentations each week and would love to actually visit Highclere Castle someday. Thank you for your graciously sharing your home each week.
Well, you're incredibly kind. It's a joy for us to share it. I love Viking Cruises, and they've been a fantastic partner to collaborate with. So we're going to be back next Friday for our next episode. And I thought next Friday I'd like to start outside and share with you some of the beautiful cedar trees and some remarkable oak trees before coming into the smoking room, which is not a room you actually see on Downton Abbey. We keep it for ourselves. Sorry, that is Alfie's tail banging on the floor. So it's very hard to keep a Labrador quiet. So, but I'm going to see you in the smoking room. It's got some beautiful works of art, and it was where, when Downton Abbey were filming, we used to put some of our more precious vases and things that might get broken, and some of the camera booms and lighting booms swung around. So I hope you'll join us next Friday for a little bit of a look outside before coming back inside. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Absolutely.